Wonderful members of the Rav Natan site. I hope that you are well. I was just thinking about something and I had to share it with you. No one else, just you. Have you ever had anybody move into a position before that they have not had? Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's at home. Someone just had a child. They've never had a child before. They had another child that they've never had before. You just got married. A mother-in-law, a father-in-law, a worker, a friend, somebody who's moved into a position they've never had before. One of the greatest worries that people have is, do I step into the shoes? Do I fit the shoes of the person who was there before me? Or maybe the person wasn't there before me, but maybe you knew someone that I didn't know, okay, that fit those shoes better. Let me give you an example. Person gets married, wife or future new wife worries that she doesn't fit into the shoes of her husband's mother, her husband's grandmother, who used to make the most amazing chicken soup, whatever it is, or vice versa. A guy just gets married, or not even just gets married, 10, 15 years down the track, and I'll give you my example, one of my examples. My father-in-law is one of the kindest people in the entire world. Do I fit into his shoes enough? Because that is the male that my wife grew up with as a role model for a man being kind. So it doesn't have to be at the beginning of something. The point is, do you know someone, or do you yourself ever try and step into the shoes of somebody else and fulfill a role? Where do we see this in the Torah, in the Tanakh? Joshua has to step into the shoes of Moses. Now remember, Moses has grown up in a palace, freed the Jewish people, the Israelites, from 210 years of slavery, taken them through 40 years in the desert, spoken face to face to God, brought the Torah down into the world on Mount Sinai. Dude, seriously, how do you step into the shoes of this man? And now I'm Yehoshua. What's the past of Yehoshua? Well, the greatest thing that we know Joshua was that he was one of the 12 spies. He's one of the 2 out of the 12 spies that spoke well about Israel. That's about almost all we know about him. Okay, so we know that he knew how to step up against the wave of other people. Okay, but that's about all we know of him. So what does God do to make sure that he's okay about stepping into the shoes of Moses? Let's look. The first perek, the first chapter of Joshua. Vayhi acharei mot Moshe eved Hashem, and it was after the death of Moses, the servant of God. Vayomer Adonai el Yoshua. God says to Yoshua, God comes straight to Yoshua. He doesn't send some angel or some messenger. Moses was spoken to by God. Therefore, Joshua needs to be spoken to by God to know that I'm fitting the same type of shoes over here. So he speaks to Yoshua ben Nun, Joshua the son of Nun, Mesharet Moshe Lemor. Mesharet Moshe means that Joshua was the servant of Moses. So Joshua, you're not someone stepping in out of the street. You are somebody who knows how Moses has worked. You have been his servant, and God is a servant Moses is a servant of God. So you've been in all of the CEO's meetings. You're not coming from nowhere, right? Moshe Avdi met, God speaking to Joshua. Moses, my servant, has died. Va'ata, now, kum, get up. Don't sit there crying anymore. Avor et hayarden hazeh, cross over the Jordan. Ata, you v'chol ha'am hazeh, and all of this nation. El haaretz asher anochi noten lachem livnei Yisrael, to the land that I will give to you and to the children of Israel. Now, let's break down this verse into a few parts. Moshe Avdi met. God is saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Yes, I'm not going to pretend you have to be Moses. Step number 1, you're not Moses. Realize that. That's okay for me, God, so that has to be okay for you, Joshua. Right? Natan, you don't have to be your father-in-law. New marketing manager, you don't have to be John. Right? Sarah, you don't have to be your husband's sister. They're not part of this picture. Moshe Avdi met. He's dead. I've now chosen you. Step number 1. Help the person understand that they are them, and that's why they have been chosen for this level of leadership. Number 2. Kum, get up. Avor et ha'Yarden hazeh. Cross over this river. Give the person a goal that the past person never had. Moses didn't get to cross the Jordan River. Moses died outside of the land of Israel. So Joshua is now getting the zchut, the honor of fulfilling a goal that Moses, his master, never even got to fulfill. So give them something that they can prove themselves, not against the person they're replacing, but prove themselves as themselves. Amazing. Isn't that so powerful? Give them something they can prove themselves for themselves and not in the shadow of their past leader that was they were in their shadow. Okay? And ata you v'chol ha'am hazeh. You and all of this nation, don't worry about it. Just like Moses had people following him, the whole nation following him, so too you have my belief as God, and you also have the nation's belief behind you. Make sure that we inject into that new leadership the understanding that they have a following. They have people who love them. They have people who want to follow them and be led by them. Now, were the people that Joshua led into the land of Israel the same people as Moses led out of the land of Egypt? No. It was a new generation. That old generation, Moses' generation, had all died because of the sin of the golden calf. So Joshua, you're starting anew, dude. Don't worry about it. These are a new people coming from that nation, but they are a new people. They're a new generation. They're your generation. They are your generation. So they're yours to lead. Those are just 3 steps that I saw in that verse and I wanted to share with you straight away. I think it's really, really important. I want to give you another little taste that maybe you haven't heard before, an insight that maybe you haven't heard before. So we know that the first time, rewind, when Moses leaves the land of Egypt with the people, he's told to hit the rock to get water. The second time he's told to speak to the rock, he hits the rock and therefore is not allowed into the land of Israel because he did not follow God's word speaking to the rock. He hit the rock. Listen to this amazing educational tool that I've been told many, many years ago. The second time he was told to speak to the rock instead of hit the rock to get the water was long after the Israelites had left Egypt. When the Israelites left Egypt, there was still a slavery mindset. Moses had to hit the rock, just like the slaves had been hit by their masters. But years later, when Moses had to draw water from another rock, the Israelites had gone through a process and were no longer a slavery mindset. They needed to be spoken to, like he was told to speak to the rock. They needed to be spoken to, not hit like they were slaves. Therefore, when Moses hit the rock and did not speak to the rock, he proved to God that he was no longer fitting to be the leader of the Israelites, of the new generation, that generation that needs to be spoken to and not treated like slaves like they were in Egypt, but as free people with an intellect, with a heart, with their own yearnings for a free land. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.